Deep in the Kuiper Belt, where humanity's most distant outpost kept its lonely vigil, Dr. Elena Santos sat before a wall of holographic displays. The research station's quantum receivers picked up the usual cosmic background radiation, gravitational waves, and the steady beacons of human spacecraft throughout the solar system. But tonight was different. "Control, are you seeing this?" Elena's fingers danced across the haptic interface, isolating a signal that didn't match any known pattern. The transmission was structured, clearly artificial, but unlike anything in their database. "Confirmed, Kuiper Station," came the response from Earth Control. "Signal analysis suggests it's not from any registered human source. Running deep pattern recognition now." Elena leaned forward, her heart racing. After 15 years of scanning the cosmos for signs of intelligent life, could this be the moment? The signal was powerful but deteriorating, suggesting a source that was failing or damaged. The massive quantum computer cores beneath the station hummed to life, processing the alien transmission. Hours passed as Elena and her team worked tirelessly to decode the message. Finally, the computer's eye assistant produced a preliminary translation. "Emergency. Generation Ship Fleet NAXARIN. Critical systems failure. 300,000 souls aboard. Request immediate assistance. Power failing. Coordinates follow." Elena's hands trembled as she read the message. The coordinates placed the alien fleet just beyond the Kuiper Belt, having somehow slipped past Earth's deep space monitoring network. They were close, impossibly close, and they were dying. "Earth Control, this is Dr. Santos, confirming first contact scenario. Requesting immediate activation of the Phoenix Protocol." Across Earth, emergency alerts blared in every space agency and military command center. Humanity had prepared for this moment for decades, but no one had expected first contact to come in the form of a desperate plea for help. In Geneva, the United Earth Council convened an emergency session. Dr. Santos' hologram stood before representatives from every nation, explaining the situation. The Nexarian fleet was massive, over 50 ships carrying hundreds of thousands of beings. Their primary power systems had catastrophically failed, leaving them drifting in space with rapidly depleting reserves. "We have the coordinates, and we've confirmed the authenticity of their distress call," Elena explained. "But there's a problem. Their technology is far beyond ours. We can barely understand their basic systems, let alone repair them." Council President Chen leaned forward. "What are you suggesting, Doctor? That we can't help them?" Elena smiled. "No, Madam President. I'm suggesting we help them in a very human way. Their ships are advanced, but the laws of physics are universal. They need power. We can give them power. They need repairs. We'll figure it out, just like we always have. Humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology. It's our ability to solve problems with whatever we have at hand." The council chambers erupted in debate. It would take every spaceworthy vessel humanity possessed. They would need to strip mining outposts and orbital stations of resources. The cost would be astronomical. But in the end, they'd voted unanimously. Humanity would not stand idle while an alien civilization died on their doorstep. Within hours, shipyards across Earth and Mars roared to life. The great colony ships under construction were repurposed into rescue vessels. Fusion reactors were loaded aboard. Engineering crews drilled in emergency repair procedures for systems they could only guess at. Commander Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the UES Prometheus, Earth's newest and largest vessel. Below her, a fleet of 30 ships prepared for departure. Everything humanity could scrape together on short notice. "All ships report ready, Commander," her XO reported. "Though I should note that half our engineers are still studying the alien technical data we received. They say it's like trying to repair a quantum computer with stone tools." Sarah smiled. "Then it's a good thing we humans are very, very good at improvising. All ships, prepare for departure. We have 300,000 souls counting on us. Let's show our new friends what humanity can do." The rescue fleet thundered away from Earth orbit on pillars of fusion fire. They carried with them humanity's hopes, dreams, and determination. First contact had come not with an invasion or a peaceful exchange of knowledge, but with a cry for help. And humanity would answer that cry, no matter the cost. As the fleet accelerated toward their rendezvous with destiny, Sarah thought about the message they had sent back to the Nexarians. Help is coming. Hold on. Humanity is on the way. The human rescue fleet pushed their engines to their absolute limits as they traversed the solar system. Commander Sarah Chen stood watch on the Prometheus's bridge, studying the incoming data about their mysterious charges. The Nexarian ships were enormous, each one nearly the size of a small city, and their design defied conventional human engineering principles. Another transmission from the Nexarian fleet commander, Lieutenant Park, reported from his communications station. The quantum translator worked overtime, converting the alien language into something comprehensible. The holographic display showed a Nexarian for the first time. They were tall, ethereal beings with translucent skin that seemed to shimmer with internal bioluminescence. Their large, compound eyes reflected the dim emergency lighting of their bridge. "I am High Commander Vexera of the Nexarian Exodus Fleet." The alien spoke, their words automatically translated. "Your swift response to our distress call is unexpected. We had detected your civilization's electromagnetic emissions, but we did not believe you possessed interstellar capability." Sarah straightened in her chair. "We don't, High Commander. Not yet. But we couldn't ignore a call for help, even if it stretches our capabilities to their limit." The alien's skin rippled with patterns of light that the translator suggested indicated surprise and curiosity. "You came despite knowing you might not be able to help, despite your technological limitations, especially because of them," Sarah replied. "We're bringing every resource we can spare, and we got some of the best engineers in human history aboard this fleet. We may not understand your technology, but we understand the principles of power generation, structural engineering, and emergency repairs. Sometimes fresh eyes and different perspectives can find solutions where none seemed possible." The Nexarian was silent for a long moment. "Our civilization has grown perhaps too dependent on our advanced technology. The failure of our quantum fold drives was catastrophic. We've lost the ability to generate power for most systems. Life support runs on emergency batteries that will fail soon." Dr. Maya Patel, the fleet's lead engineer, stepped into view of the transmission. "High Commander, we've been studying the technical data you sent. Your power systems are beyond our current understanding, but we might have an alternative solution. We've brought enough fusion reactors to power a small continent. They're primitive by your standards, but they produce energy all the same." Fusion reactors. Vexera's skin flickered with what might have been amusement. "We haven't used such technology in 10,000 years. Sometimes the old ways work best," Maya replied with a smile. "We've also developed some theories about your drive system failure. We may not be able to restore your quantum fold capability, but we might be able to get enough systems online to save your people." The human fleet's arrival at the Nexarian ships was a moment that would be forever etched in humanity's collective memory. The alien vessels were breathtaking. Their hulls seemed to bend light itself, covered in patterns that suggested impossible geometries. But now they hung dark and lifeless, their only illumination coming from emergency beacons that pulsed weakly in the void. Sarah coordinated the rescue operation from the Prometheus. Engineering teams in advanced EVA suits swarmed toward the alien ships, carrying with them tools, power cables, and portable fusion generators. The size difference between the human and Nexarian vessels was staggering. The Prometheus, humanity's largest ship, looked like a lifeboat next to the smallest Nexarian vessel. Inside the alien ships, human engineers encountered technology that seemed like magic. But they also found universal constants. Power needed to flow, structures needed support, and systems needed maintenance. The Nexarians watched in amazement as the humans tackled problems with a combination of advanced technology and surprisingly primitive but effective solutions. Your people are extraordinary, Vexera commented to Sarah as they watched a team of engineers literally patch a quantum containment field with a combination of advanced ceramics and good old-fashioned welding. Where our specialists see only failure and impossibility, your crews find ways to adapt and overcome. Maya's team had rigged a dozen fusion reactors in parallel, feeding power into the alien ship's distribution networks through jury-rigged interfaces. It wasn't pretty, but it worked. Life support systems came back online across the fleet, and the immediate crisis began to abate. But as the human crews worked tirelessly to stabilize the Nexarian fleet, long-range sensors detected something approaching from deep space. Something large and moving with purpose. "High Commander," Sarah called out, studying the sensor data with growing concern. "Are you expecting company?" Vexera's skin paled, its bioluminescence dimming. "No. But I fear I know who they are. The same ones who sabotaged our fleet and left us to die. They're coming to finish what they started." Sarah's jaw set in determination. The human fleet might be small and primitive compared to the Nexarians, but they hadn't come this far to see their rescue mission end in failure. "Then we'll just have to disappoint them, won't we? All ships, battle stations. We got more than just ourselves to protect now." The approaching vessels emerged from quantum space like sharks cutting through dark water. Their ships were angular and predatory, a sharp contrast to both the elegant Nexarian designs and the utilitarian human vessels. High Commander Vexera's skin rippled with patterns of fear and anger as she identified them. "The Kryvax," she said, her translator conveying the disgust in her voice. "They were once our allies, until they decided our technological advancement posed a threat to their dominion. They sabotaged our Exodus fleet, thinking to eliminate us without direct confrontation." Sarah watched the tactical display as the Kryvax fleet approached. Their ships were smaller than the Nexarian vessels, but heavily armed. Scans showed energy readings that made the human fleet's weapons look like firecrackers. "How many ships?" Sarah asked, already formulating plans. 15 warships, her tactical officer reported. "Their weapons are powering up." Maya burst onto the bridge, her engineering overalls stained with coolant from the jury-rigged power systems. "Commander, we got partial power restored to the Nexarian defensive systems, but it's nowhere near full capacity. The fusion reactors just can't generate enough power fast enough." Sarah nodded, her mind racing. The human fleet was outnumbered and outgunned, but they had one advantage. No one would expect humans to be here, or to fight alongside the Nexarians. "High Commander," Sarah turned to Vexera's hologram. "Your people are natural space architects. Our people are natural improvisers. I have an idea, but it's going to require both our strengths." The next hour was a frenzy of activity. Human engineers worked alongside Nexarian technicians, implementing Sarah's desperate plan. They couldn't match the Kryvax's advanced weapons, but they could change the battlefield itself. The Kryvax fleet approached confidently, their commander broadcasting a message of mock concern. "Nexarian refugees, we've detected your distress. We've come to assist." "That's close enough." Sarah's voice rang out on all channels. The Kryvax ships pulled up short, clearly surprised by a human presence. "This is Commander Sarah Chen of the United Earth Fleet. The Nexarian Exodus fleet is under our protection. Withdraw immediately." Laughter echoed across the communication channel. "Primitives," the Kryvax commander sneered. "Your species barely understands quantum physics. Stand aside, or be destroyed with them." "Funny thing about us primitives," Sarah replied, allowing herself a small smile. "We're really good at surprising people." Now, the trap was sprung. The human fleet had used their fusion reactors not just to power the Nexarian ships, but to create a massive electromagnetic pulse wave, amplified through the Nexarians' quantum field architecture. The pulse wasn't powerful enough to damage the advanced Kryvax ships, but it wasn't meant to. The real trap was the field of quantum resonance mines that the humans and Nexarians had hastily constructed from spare parts and repurposed scanning equipment. The EMP wave activated them all at once, creating a cascade of quantum disruptions that played havoc with the Kravax's sophisticated targeting systems. All ships, attack pattern Delta, Sarah commanded. The human fleet moved with precision, their relatively primitive weapons finding gaps in the suddenly confused Kravax formation. They couldn't do much damage, but they didn't need to. They just needed to hold the line. The real surprise came from the Nexarian ships. While most of their systems were still down, the human engineers had managed to restore power to one critical system: their quantum communication arrays that could be reconfigured, with some creative engineering, into quantum disruption weapons. Vexera's skin blazed with patterns of fierce satisfaction as she gave the order. The Nexarian ships fired as one, their jerry-rigged weapons sending waves of quantum interference that shattered the Kravax's shields and scrambled their navigation systems. The battle that followed was unlike anything in human military history. Human ships darted between the massive alien vessels, their conventional weapons precisely targeting the weak points identified by Nexarian sensors. The Kravax, expecting an easy slaughter, found themselves caught between two species fighting as one. A Kravax cruiser exploded as concentrated fire from 3 human destroyers hit a point weakened by Nexarian quantum disruption. Another spun out of control, its quantum drive overloaded by the interference field. The remaining Kravax ships attempted to regroup, but the combination of human tactical unpredictability and Nexarian technical expertise had turned the tide. Impossible, the Kravax commander sputtered as his fleet began to retreat. "You're savages, primitives. We're humanity," Sarah corrected him. "And we just proved that technology isn't everything. Sometimes the best solutions come from working together, combining the old and the new, the simple and the sophisticated." As the Kravax fleet fled back into quantum space, Sarah looked around her bridge. Human officers worked side by side with Nexarian advisors, their differences forgotten in the heat of battle. They had faced an overwhelming force and emerged victorious, not through superior technology, but through cooperation, innovation, and sheer determination. But their celebration was short-lived. Maya's voice came over the intercom, tense with concern. "Commander, that battle drained nearly all our fusion reactors. The Nexarian ships are running on emergency power again, and we're detecting quantum fractures in space where the resonance mines detonated. We're not out of danger yet." The victory over the Kravax had come at a steep cost. Through the Prometheus's viewports, Sarah could see the fabric of space itself shimmering with unnatural distortions, quantum fractures caused by their improvised weapons. The Nexarian fleet's power was failing again, and this time, their fusion reactor backup systems were nearly depleted. "Status report," Sarah called out, watching as another quantum fracture spread like a crack in glass across the void. Maya's hologram appeared on the bridge, her face drawn with exhaustion. "It's bad, Commander. The quantum disruption weapons we cobbled together worked better than expected, maybe too well. They're creating a cascade effect in local space-time. If we don't stabilize it soon, this entire sector could become permanently unnavigable." Vexera's image joined them, her bioluminescent patterns showing complex equations and calculations. "The quantum fractures are expanding exponentially. They're drawing energy from our ship's power emissions, growing stronger with each passing moment. Even if we restored our main drives, we couldn't escape. The fractures would follow our quantum wake." Sarah stood at the center of her bridge, watching the growing web of distortions. They had saved the Nexarians from the Kravax, only to face an even deadlier threat, one they had created themselves. "There has to be a solution," Sarah insisted. "Maya, what if we shut down all power systems? Would that stop the fractures from spreading?" "Temporarily," Maya replied, "but the Nexarian ships would lose life support. We'd be trading one death for another." Vexera's patterns shifted to something contemplative. "Perhaps, perhaps not. Your fusion reactors may be primitive by our standards, but they produce something our quantum drives never did: waste heat. Maya's eyes widened as she caught on to the Nexarian's thinking. Thermal energy. It's not quantum reactive. We could use the heat from the fusion reactors to maintain basic life support without feeding the fractures. But that's not enough to save us, Sarah pointed out. We need to seal these fractures before they tear this whole region apart. A junior engineer named Raj stepped forward, his voice hesitant but excited. Commander, High Commander, what if we're thinking about this wrong? We can't fight a quantum cascade with brute force. But what if we could turn it back on itself? All eyes turned to the young engineer. Explain, Sarah commanded. It's like a wave pool, Raj continued, growing more confident. You can't stop the waves by hitting them head-on, but if you time counter waves just right, they cancel each other out. The quantum fractures are like waves in space-time. If we could generate an inverse resonance pattern. Vexera's skin lit up with sudden understanding, using the very weapons that caused this as the solution. But the calculations would have to be perfect. A millisecond's error could make the cascade worse. Then it's a good thing we have both human computers and Nexarian quantum processors, Maya said. We can cross-check each other's work. But we'll need enormous power to generate the counter-resonance. Sarah looked at her tactical display, then at the faces of her crew, human and Nexarian alike. They had come too far to fail now. The Prometheus's main fusion core, if we eject it and detonate it at precisely the right moment, would that provide enough power? Maya ran the calculations, her face grim. Yes, but we'd have to be inside the quantum fracture zone to do it. Whoever pilots the core into position, they might not make it back. I'll do it, Sarah said without hesitation, but Vexera interrupted. No, Commander. My people have quantum-shielded suits designed for emergency repairs. They're damaged, but one still functions. I will pilot the core. With all due respect, High Commander, you don't have experience piloting human craft in crisis conditions, Sarah countered. This needs to be me. The solution came from an unexpected source. Lieutenant Park spoke up from his station. What if you both went? The High Commander's suit could protect you both, and you'd have redundancy if anything went wrong. Human piloting skills and Nexarian quantum expertise working together, just like everything else we've accomplished. The next hour was a blur of preparation. The Prometheus's fusion core was carefully extracted and mounted on a makeshift guidance system. Sarah and Vexera squeezed into the quantum-shielded suit together, an awkward but workable arrangement. As they launched in a small pilot vessel towing the core, Sarah felt the Nexarian's bioluminescence pulse against her back, synchronizing with her own heartbeat. They threaded their way through the quantum fractures, which had grown into a maze of shimmering, reality-bending distortions. The combined human and Nexarian science teams guided them, calculating safe passages through the chaos. At the designated point, the heart of the cascade, they released the fusion core. Now comes the hard part, Sarah said, maneuvering their small craft away, detonating it at exactly the right moment while getting clear ourselves. Vexera's patterns glowed with determination. Together, Commander. Like everything else. As they raced away from the core, the quantum fractures reached for them with tendrils of distorted space-time. Sarah's piloting kept them just ahead of the destruction, while Vexera's quantum expertise helped them predict where the next fracture would appear. Behind them, the fusion core reached critical mass just as the cascade peaked. The explosion, when it came, was unlike anything either species had ever seen. A sphere of pure energy expanded outward, meeting the quantum fractures head-on. For a moment, space itself seemed to hold its breath. The explosion of the fusion core created a brilliant sphere of energy that collided with the quantum fractures. For a terrifying moment, the fabric of space seemed to stretch and tear. Then the counter-resonance wave did its work. Like ripples canceling each other in a pond, the quantum distortions began to fade. Sarah and Vexera's small craft tumbled through the aftermath, their quantum-shielded suit protecting them from the worst of the energy discharge. As the light faded, They saw clear, normal space emerging around them. The fractures were sealing themselves, the damaged space-time healing. It worked. Sarah breathed, watching the last distortions fade away. We actually did it. Vexara's bioluminescence pulsed with joy and relief. Indeed, though I suspect neither of our peoples will be experimenting with quantum disruption weapons again anytime soon. The Prometheus's rescue shuttle picked them up moments later. As they returned to the fleet, they saw the results of their gambit. The quantum fractures were gone, and the space around them was stable once more. But more importantly, both fleets, human and Nexarian, were intact. Maya met them in the shuttle bay, her face split with a huge grin. The fusion reactors are back online and feeding clean power to the Nexarian ships, she reported. And guess what? While we were all focused on the quantum crisis, our engineering teams made a breakthrough. We think we can adapt our fusion technology to help restart their main power systems. Over the next few days, human and Nexarian crews worked together to implement Maya's solution. It wasn't a perfect fix. The Nexarian ships wouldn't be capable of quantum fold travel until they reached a proper shipyard, but it would give them enough power to reach safety under conventional drive. But the real breakthrough came in an unexpected form. As the crews worked together, they began sharing more than just technical knowledge. Humans learned about Nexarian culture, their arts, their philosophy. The Nexarians, in turn, were fascinated by human creativity, their ability to find unconventional solutions, their determination to help others even at great risk to themselves. Your people continue to surprise us, Vexara said to Sarah as they stood on the Prometheus's observation deck, watching the combined fleet prepare for departure. When we first detected your civilization, we saw only primitive technology, limited understanding of quantum mechanics, no faster-than-light travel. We never thought to look deeper. Sarah smiled. Technology isn't everything. Sometimes the best solutions come from seeing things from a new perspective. Your people have achieved incredible things, but perhaps in focusing so much on advancement, you forgot some of the simpler approaches. Indeed, this experience has taught us much. The Kryvax feared us because of our technology, but they failed to understand that true strength comes from adaptation, cooperation, and the willingness to try new approaches. Vexara's patterns shifted to something formal, which is why I have a proposal for your United Earth Council. The proposal was revolutionary. The Nexarians would share some of their technology with humanity, but not all at once. Instead, they would establish a joint research and development program. Human innovation and problem-solving would be paired with Nexarian technical expertise, allowing both species to learn from each other. We've seen what humans can do with fusion power and basic quantum theory, Vexara explained to the Council. Imagine what we could achieve together, growing and learning as equals rather than as teacher and student. The Council's response was enthusiastic. Within weeks, plans were drawn up for a joint space station where humans and Nexarians would work together. The Nexarian Exodus fleet would remain in the solar system during their repairs, allowing for extensive cultural exchange. 3 months after the crisis, Sarah stood with Vexara on the observation deck of the new joint station. Below them, Earth shone like a blue jewel, while the massive forms of the Nexarian ships floated serenely in orbit. The first human Nexarian research team begins work tomorrow, Sarah said, watching a shuttle ferry personnel between the ships. Maya's leading the quantum physics division, and 3 human ships are being fitted with our modified quantum sensors, Vexara added. Soon they'll be ready to explore beyond your solar system. Not bad for a bunch of primitives with fusion reactors, Sarah chuckled. Vexara's skin rippled with amusement. You know what truly impressed us? Not your technology or your bravery, though both were remarkable. It was your immediate response to our distress call. You didn't hesitate, didn't calculate the political advantages. You simply came to help. That's what humans do, Sarah replied simply. And now we can do it together. As they watched the Earth turn below them, both leaders reflected on how much had changed. What had begun as a desperate rescue mission had evolved into something far more significant, a partnership between two very different civilizations, each learning from the other, growing stronger together than they ever could have been apart. The stars seemed brighter somehow, full of promise. Humanity had taken its first steps into a larger universe, not through conquest or technological superiority, but through compassion, innovation, and the willingness to extend a helping hand to those in need. The legacy of those choices would echo through the centuries to come, as human and Nexarian ships ventured forth together into the endless frontier of space.